What even is this?
So y'all remember the last video, right? So there's a theory going around that Americans are experiencing zoochosis.
Why is everything so boring right now? Like, I am so bored with everything.
People have been saying that it feels like the world that we once knew just vanished.
Everything just feels empty.
As you can see, the zoochosis theory is running around the collective right now. And now people are realizing that the artificial environment, the matrix, the simulation that has been created to cause a veil over their eyes is becoming thinner, and they're feeling no feelings towards the old world. And now people are talking like this.
Nobody talks about waking up in the matrix and then still having to deal and live inside the matrix while believing and knowing that all of it is fake.
How do y'all deal with waking up knowing that all of this is fake? This is a game, but still have to participate in the game.
Why the human brain and like that have mechanisms to put in place to protect you from shock and shit like that, because this is not normal. This is not normal, y'all. Like, this is no way to live. And I don't think as a people, I gotta hit y'all with the politician here. As a people, as a human, I don't think we could continue to live like this. Like, the mass levels of psychosis.
So now that you see that different people are asking, if you know that you are in a matrix, if you know that you are in a simulation that's created from what has been programmed into your being and the frequency of this planet, and you're still required to participate, how do you play the game? How do you turn the captivity into conscious mastery? Because as you can see, there's been an energetic domestication where our organic, humanly, multidimensional consciousness has been slowly redirected into artificial control system. Now, I've done my best to put together a simplification of how you can rewire all of this stuff. Because every time Neo and all the others had to go back into the Matrix, they didn't lose themselves. They stayed grounded in who they are, and they found more of who they are. And this is just the Earth game. Okay, imagine other places. Let's get into it.
Just can't stop crying. I feel like I'm going through an existential crisis. Again, just feel like I'm looking at stuff and like I just don't, like I feel here, but then I don't feel here. Like I'm here. Like, this is, like, what even is this? I know that this has something to do with my ascension somehow, some way.
I don't know. I think it's starting to feel like we're living in a matrix. Every day is almost the same. We all share almost the same experiences at some point in our lives. Doesn't matter the age. We all experience something that's similar. I do think we're in a matrix right now. It's just a repeat. Everything just gets repeated every day.
Coming to bed, honey? Coming to bed, honey?
Sometimes I'm just like, is it better to, be asleep and not realize the world that we're living in? Like, not realizing that we live in a matrix? Because now that I'm awake, I feel so flipping lonely. Like, I feel so lonely. I also feel crazy because it's like you question everything. You can't trust the media. You can't trust politicians. You can't trust anything. Like, everything you think is true and everything you believe, you've been conditioned to believe that. You can't connect with people the same way anymore. You don't look at life the same way anymore because you're just like, what is the point of living this life when we're just slaves to this system. We are just slaves. They don't care about us. The high-ups don't care about us. You guys have watched Squid Game and you see how the rich are just laughing at the people who are participating in the games. That's exactly our world. Literally exactly our world. And even when you do wake up and you try and wake other people, they just look at you like you're just a conspiracy theorist. That's just it. And that's what they do all the time. But have you guys not seen that a lot of the things they claim to be conspiracy theories, they're actually real. Like, it's true. Like, for example, back in 2012, 2013 times, they said our phones were being listened to. But we actively know that our phones are being listened to. That's not a lie. But it's just crazy. Like, I feel crazy. I feel alone. I feel like there's just no point because I'm a slave to the system. And there is no way for me to break out of it. I mean, I see people talking about, break away from the matrix. But when you have, what do you do? That's the actual question. What do you do?
You're not a slave. You're not a person that is stuck in it. You didn't wake up just to be stuck. You may use the analogy that you're awake during surgery, but you are actively conscious in the illusion that you've been living in. And now everything that you've been seeing, everything that's led you here has brought your consciousness level to the point where you are ready to move forward. And if you desire it, that means it exists.
Y'all, they start training us early to get stuck in this matrix. And what I mean by that, have you noticed the toy sets? The girls, we get kitchen sets, doll babies, to learn how to be stay-at-home moms. And the boys, they get fire trucks, police cars, and G.I. Joe sets to let them know they're going to have to go out into the matrix and work. And then they start training us with our time. When we get old enough, we start pre-K or kindergarten all the way up through grade 12th. That's training as well to stay on a job between 40 and 60 hours a week. And once we get that job, we become very competitive. And the reason why is because everybody is competing for more pay, and that brings strife in the work environment. Once we get the job that we want, then we go look at buying a vehicle. And sometimes most of us get vehicles that are out of our price range, but we can afford it, but we're not able to save any money because most of our check is either going on that car, and the second thing is a house. When we get that job, we want to go buy a nice house. And sometimes we go over the amount in the pre-qualification letter, and we get a whole lot of house where the mortgage is a large amount, and then we can't save any money that way. So it keeps us in a loop. We're forced to go to work because we have a house and we have a car. And another way they keep us trapped as slaves in this matrix is to bring more slaves into the world. They tell you, oh, when you got to have that first baby? And you have that first baby. Oh, when are you going to have that baby, a little brother or a little sister? Those are all traps designed to keep us in this matrix without using our critical thinking, so we can't think our way out of this matrix. Everything is set up as part of the design. So once they get us trapped in the matrix, we're living on a daily routine, and we're thinking that it's normal. We're going about our day. Everything's okay. It's tight, but we're making it. The kids are getting fed. We're driving to work, coming home, but then they tighten the grip. And you know how they tighten the grip? With inflation. And inflation is causing people to crash out, lose their mind, because those kids that the matrix talked them into having, it's getting harder to feed them, especially during summertime. That car and that car insurance, you're rethinking that car and probably want to get a cash car. And that all that house you got, that beautiful house, you're rethinking that house and wanting to sell it or either downgrade or go stay in an apartment. So it's tightening its grip. And that way we become depressed, angry, sad, full of anxiety, and then it shows up with road rage and domestic violence.
Now, this next one is a microcosm because she's talking about a relationship, but think about this in a connection to the matrix, in a connection to the master, this reality, in connection to capitalism.
Y'all, they're with us not because they love us, but because they see the love inside of us, and they want to corrupt that love, and they want to humble us. So once we get in a relationship with them, they start pushing our boundaries. They start causing arguments almost on a daily basis, trying to make us feel bad. In actuality, they want us to fight back because they're feeding off that energy on a lower level by us fighting back.
Energy harvesting. When you see things happen that's built to insinuate race wars or political irritations, Trump, the government, when you understand that things are set in place to keep your energy in the same vortex as the box you've been in. They want to create a relationship with you where they want your energy. They want you to keep working. They want you to keep having babies. They want you to keep doing everything possible to stay with them. Be in their matrix, be in their society, be in their realm.
Make us feel bad. In actuality, they want us to fight back because they're feeding off that energy on a lower level by us fighting back. So once they push us into toxicity, we lose pretty much our divine protection. And they know we are divinely protected because they can tell it's all about the bloodlines. They know who comes from a good bloodline. And most of these people that are doing this, they come from a bad bloodline. And you can tell, you can see people in public that are like this. You see good people with bad people, and you can see that they're bad people, and you're wondering, why is he with her? You can tell that she's not even a good person. You could just feel the energy. Or why is she with him? You could tell he's not a good person. You can feel the energy. I just don't understand, because when he or she met that person pretended to be full of love, and now they feel like they're locked into their relationship, and they're trying to do everything they can to make it work, thinking that they can love their person enough and they will change. No, you can't love them enough. They are there to corrupt. So once they corrupt us and we lose our divine protection, now we're operating on a lower level. We're going around mad. We're arguing with the cashier. We're driving around with road rage. That's what they want. That's what the spiritual warfare, the demonic people or the demonic spirits, that's what they feed off of. So now we're in this relationship, and we can die like this in this relationship. Now we've added another curse. So now we've added probably several curses to the generation, that somebody that's born is going to have to break the generational curse. That's why it's not good to stay with these people and let them break us down to the lowest level. And now we're not operating out of love, and we're not spreading knowledge about love, and we're letting them corrupt our mind. That's not a good thing. So once we see that these people are evil, it's best to go ahead and get away from these people. So now the cycle be repeated. If we hadn't healed and we get with another person, then we're corrupting their good bloodline. And when these people move on, they go on to another person that's full of love so they can corrupt him or her. And then it becomes like a vicious cycle. And that's how it spreads. That's how spiritual warfare works.
Do I need to? I'm just going. If you can see above, if you can see all the interconnectedness and what she's explaining within your reality, within the matrix, within the government, within everything that you see around you, you can observe what's going on around you and why you see that everybody feels empty, but they're still having to participate in it because they don't know how to get out. They don't know how to love their own source and find that and break the game. You can see that this is a vibrational containment field where your divine consciousness forgets that it has its wings, forgets its own power, its own source. So you continue to stay in this relationship that you know, hoping that you will receive love from all the time, effort, and energy you have given to it. Now you see that you have a desire, a feeling, a version of you that is knocking on dimensional walls, trying to get you to understand and see that I'm here, I exist. Now I want you to watch this to give you a perspective of what is happening around you in your own reality, in your own life, as to why you are in this feeling and in this moment of expression.
If you ever seen Insidious, you might like this video. But if you've seen all the movies, you remember, and I think it's the fourth one or the third one, I'm pretty sure it's the fourth one, where Dalton is in the further and he goes and he's trapped in the further and he goes to knock on his door, and it takes us back to the first movie when they first move in that crib and they hearing weird noises, and it's showing us that the weird noises that they were hearing was him being trapped in the further, knocking on the door. From Interstellar, I'm not the biggest fan of Interstellar, but you remember when he's trapped behind the fifth dimension and he's pushing books, knocking books out the walls to get his daughter's attention because it's kind of all happening like at the same time, if that makes sense. And that just had me thinking, like, what if when you hear a noise or you hear something or you think you see something, that's really just you from a different dimension or a different timeline trying to get your attention for some reason. I was just randomly thinking about that for some reason.
The version of you that you currently desire, the person who is in freedom, the person who is out of the simulation that you are living in currently, is in your face, in your reality, in your space, contacting you, your energy that is tethered. You don't desire things for no reason. You didn't desire to wake up unless you've already figured out and mastered how to get out of it, how to ascend beyond this. This video right here is a boat that is sailing through the river, through the lake to get to the other side of where you want to be, why everything is happening. So if you're still here in the video, now we're going to get to the point of conscious mastery. Above all of this, you have no identity. You have no, you are beyond and above this. Everything that's happening on this planet, everything that's happening in your reality, you are above, untouched. You are the source. There is nothing that is touching you. But you here, as this vessel that you are in, experiencing these emotions. Now we're going to understand why we chose to be a vessel here and why we are no longer holding the codes and the entrapments and the stagnation that has been running in this realm for a long time.
If you're not into spirituality, if you're not into the Matrix, if you're not into all of that stuff, like fractals, this isn't for you, please scroll. This is legitimately a theory. I will figure it out one day. But I believe that we are disconnected from our highest selves in this reality, that this matrix exists, that the mind is essentially your Bluetooth connection to the simulation, all out of safety for all of us. Hear me out. Imagine you are born into this lifetime, not remembering that you are a creator, but still attached to all of your gifts. Meaning, you don't remember the spiritual laws. You don't remember that if you do something bad, it's going to come back to you. You don't remember anything about energy. You don't remember any of that. But if you were connected to your gifts, would this world not be Gotham City? Because if this simulation is based in duality, you can't have the light without the dark. That means we would be acting out of our shadows with magic, not understanding why it is bad, which is dangerous. So this system was put into place so people could come here and as safe as possible, spiritually I'm saying, as safe as possible, learn the lessons and then being protected collectively from ourselves until mentally our brain monitor has allowed us to tap back into the powers that we all naturally have. However, the higher ups who know more about the system use it in a negative way to keep people from understanding their full potential. But this system was always created for protection.
So with the last video, there's a perspective of the simulation was created to protect you, but the ones who are disagreeable have used that against you, have inverted the simulation to feed them instead of feeding your expansion, your growth, for example.
So the truth is, we live in a parallel universe, which basically means that there's multiple different versions of the world, but we only see one at a time. This has been shown time and time again by scientists through experiments such as Schrodinger's cat. Parallel universe is just a fancy way to say a world that coexists with our world, but is very different from it. For my religious folk that aren't too shabby with science, religion talks about this too. The variation of Earth from a religious sense would be heaven or hell, or the spiritual realm. The spiritual realm doesn't only exist when we pass away. It exists all the time right now. It is parallel to us. It is current, simultaneous, and always accessible through practices such as meditation and prayer. So why is this important? Why does knowing about parallel universes matter? And what does it have to do with manifestation? Let me tell you why. The thing about having parallel universes means that if there's a parallel universe, there are parallel versions of you as well. Yes, you are operating in this realm, but also operating in other realms simultaneously. I'm literally getting chills. There are different levels of you operating at higher levels of consciousness, while others are operating at lower levels of consciousness, but they are all accessible. This is where quantum jumping comes in. Quantum jumping is pretty much changing your reality by jumping parallels or levels of consciousness. Basically, there's a better version of you, but there's also a lesser version of you. And with every decision that you make, you become more like one or the other.
When you understand a certain level, they know how the game works. They cannot affect you. You're let out of the game. In that sense, you're never let out of the game completely, which I'll explain that as well. But there's a point there because this is all based on consciousness. This is all based on frequencies. This is all based on vibration, the vibration of your consciousness. There's a measurement here. We're dealing with electromagnetic energy and what that means. I call these the investigators. And the reason why I call them the investigators is because they check you out. They check out how you work, how your body works, how your brain works, how your mind works. This is how all the mind control happens. Because anybody who is just so out of touch, it just be really easy for mind control to occur. That's why I'm saying you've got to get off the programs. You've got to examine your life and see where you are. Is it just fear that I'm engaging in? Is it just a bunch of programs? Because I don't care what anybody says. There's a great science at work. If you want freedom, freedom is only going to come from in here. There's nothing out there. That's the illusion. It's only going to come from within. regardless of what it is. We talk about the government, we talk about corporations. All of those systems are the game, and they exist to limit you and to make you think that they are all powerful and that they can hold you down. And they do when you engage in it, which we're going to talk about also. Those who manipulate this unseen mechanism of society constitute an invisible government, which is the true ruling power of our country.
The subconscious. And this is where you get people who recognize the zombies and the vampires who have succumbed to the environment, the simulation, and they continue to stay in it, and they want you to stay in it as well. And we're going to get into family members.
There's a specific reason why your life has been repeating the same patterns for years. You were born with access to the fifth dimension, but you were programmed to operate only in the third. That toxic person, the relationship that always ends the same way, the illness that appears out of nowhere. They're all mirrors showing what you hide within yourself. Vedic texts, the Kabbalah, and the Gnostic Gospels, which were suppressed at Nag Hammadi, all describe this technology of consciousness that initiatory orders have used for centuries. At the same time, you were taught that you're a victim of circumstances. Godard was marginalized for revealing that. Beyond being able to use imagination and feeling to create reality, there exists a deeper awakening where you discover that you are the creative consciousness itself, experiencing itself as human. Each person in your experience is literally yourself who has forgotten who you really are, projected outward. The educational system was architected to block this perception. But the programming is failing. The strange physical symptoms, the impossible synchronicities, and the prophetic dreams, your body is recalibrating to process frequencies that have always been available. You've always created your reality. The only change now is being able to do it consciously.
So if you caught that, you'll realize that the matrix is not broken. It's responding to your script. And even though coming here, that script can be manipulated and changed and messed up, and you get swayed off of your actual blueprint and the path that you set in your script for your life to go. Your consciousness might get stuck in a pocket dimension where you just experiencing and running on a hamster wheel in the same loop, and you just trying to figure out, how did I get here? You know how there's a saying that says, your perception of me is a reflection of you. My reaction to you is an awareness of me. Because everybody is in their own simulation. Everybody's in their own reality, in their own universe. And we collectively share this space.
The law of correspondence says that whatever's happening in your universe is a direct reflection of what's happening inside of you. Notice how I said what happens in your universe. Because although we all live in one world, what we see is not the same. We see the world how we are. We see the world through the lens of the things we've been through. If you guys haven't noticed by now, life is an energy game. We all have attraction points. Our aura, who we are deep down, is our attraction point.
We are separate universes that exist alongside each other and give each other reflections and energy that we need in order to expand and understand ourselves more. And this is where we're touching on the subject of family, of people who are in your immediate reality and understanding the part that they play in your expansion and their expansion.
Believe it or not, even when they enter into our life, our higher self signed a contract for them to be able to do so. Let me paint it like this. Even that one boyfriend or girlfriend that took you through hell and back that you could not stand, your higher self signed a contract to allow them to come into your life to teach you something. Now, what that lesson is, only you may know, right? And the same thing for them. Maybe in this lifetime, they needed to learn how to pay for their mistakes, or, they needed to learn how to treat people this way or that way. Who knows? But what I do know is that the two of you agreed on this contract well before they played a role into your life. This may piss you off even more, but wait till you find out that we are all a part of the same collective consciousness. That's what people mean by everybody you meet is just an extension of yourself. But I digress. The people that you meet, you have signed a contract with them, especially if they play, this type of role where they have left an imprint on you.
Now, that family member, that person, that relationship, that friendship, all in your immediate reality in exchange to be a mirror. And this is the key, because your immediate reality is how you turn your captivity into conscious mastery. This is where we're getting into family members and understanding what part they play in your simulation, your emotions, and your conscious mastery.
One of the heaviest crossroads a conscious person ever gonna have to face is what to do with their loved ones that clearly choose to stay in the matrix, right? Now, do we keep trying to help them or do we leave them where they at? I don't want to leave nothing out, so I'm going to take it step by step, okay? So the first thing I want to talk about is the 3D realm, right? The low vibrational realm, the survival mode realm. Now, the 3D realm is where ego, fear, materialism, identity, status, control, right? This is where all of that still thrives. This is where people still chase clout, money, validation, right? Still locked in anger, right? A lot of distractions, okay? They also have no accountability for their actions. Now, believe it or not, most people are still stuck here, right? And that's only because they've been programmed and broken down by design. Okay, so now let's talk about the 4D realm, right? The awakening zone or the transitional layer, right? Now, I call it the transitional layer because this is where people start to wake up, right? But they still fighting old battles, right? With ego, illusion, and pain from the past. Now, the 4D realm kind of feel like you know there's something wrong with the world, right? You know it, but you just don't fully understand it yet. You being torn between your higher self and your lower self, right? You also get spiritual downloads, but you still acting out sometimes out of survival. This is where you begin to question reality, right? But at the same time, you struggle to leave the old reality behind. Now, this is a hella dangerous place to get stuck in, right? Because a lot of people think that they made it just because they awakened, right? But they still haven't ascended yet. Now we can move on to the 5D realm, okay? Now, this is where unity, love, and truth lives. Now, in the 5D realm, love overrides fear, okay? Unity overrides separation. You are no longer performing or pleasing, right? And now you start to move with intuition, not just intellect. You don't chase no more either. What you do is you attract what matches your frequency. Now the 5D don't argue with the 3D, okay? You don't try to convince people no more. You become the proof and you keep your peace, right? Now that's the only way that you can guide without draining. So now we move on to what about the ones that we love that is still in 3D? Now that part right there, man, that's the spiritual heartbreak. When you love somebody deep as hell and they refuse to wake up. Now it's very important that you understand this part right here, okay? You can't drag nobody into the light. If they not ready to see, you gonna burn yourself trying to get them to. They gotta want it on their own. If not in this lifetime, then in the next. And when they get to that point, right, don't think that you abandoning them because you're not. You just refuse to get pulled back into a dimension that you fought hard as hell to get yourself out of. You remember that old saying, let the dead bury the dead? Okay, well, that's a spiritual truth, right? Because you're not here to save them. You couldn't anyway, even if you tried, right? You're here to be an example, right? So when they finally choose to wake up, they'll remember that you showed them how. Now, you can stay in proximity of them, right? Or close to them, right? But don't forget to protect your peace. What I mean by that is if you can be around them, right? And still stay centered, do it. But if not, distance is divine. Sometimes you got to love from afar. You know, now you can send energy or prayer or however you want to do it, right? Just don't sacrifice your vibration for somebody that don't even know that they're asleep. Helping or trying to help somebody too much, right, can put yourself in a trap, right? And what I mean by that is sometimes we disguise ego as love, right? We'll say some shit like, I just want to help them, right? But deep down, right, we just don't want to be alone, right? We don't want to lose them. And if you ask me, right, subconsciously, we want to be the one that saved them, right? And that's ego talking. And 5D don't move off ego. So the solution to that is you got to lead by frequency and not force, right? You got to stay elevated even when they stay stuck. And if they ever come looking for the light, you will still be there shining. So to answer the question, right, the $1 million question, do we leave them behind? No. What we do is we stop waiting for them to catch up while we still move forward. If they are real, right, they're going to feel your vibration and they're going to rise up to meet you one day. But if not, you still did your part.
Now, if you are still here, the dedication for your own conscious expansion, round of applause, because you're still here with me. But I have this last video that I want to show you in contrast to the family thing and also your relationship to your reality.
In the Matrix, Morpheus tells Neo, anyone who is not unplugged is a threat to him. So basically, anyone who is still programmed into the Matrix is a threat to him as a conscious being. It doesn't mean that these people are malicious, but these people are programmed by a system, which means that they can be hijacked. They can be used against you on your path of liberation. They become unconscious enemies because you are resisting the program that they operate in. You are resisting the program that they are conditioned to. They looking at you like, you think you bigger than the program? From their perspective, all they know is what they were told. All they know is what they were taught. They are conditioned to defend the system. So now you, this conscious free being, you become a threat to their egos. And that's where they begin to want to humble you because they saying, who the f you think you are? I don't know that. Just shut the fuck up and do what we were told to do. Go to work, go to Target, go to Walmart, get recipes and ingredients, make videos, cook it, get likes, go to sleep, get up, do the same thing over and over again. You don't want to do that. You don't want to gossip. You don't want to be messy. You don't want to be always in a low vibrational mindset. Who the fuck you think you are? That's when they become a threat. Unconscious enemies. Be very mindful, conscious beings, who you allow into your energy because they're very sneaky. They come as distractions. They come with smiles on their faces. They come in form of support and help, but they're really there to distract you off of your path. Stay focused. Y'all better focus. Y'all better focus.
So I did my best to try to find the most simplest explanations that cumulatively connect into us getting to the other side of the lake. Hopefully, as you journeyed with me through this video, through this lake, through this rabbit hole, something has clicked, something has been reminded in your own self. If you made it this far, I want to say thank you for watching and being here with me. Just know that you are not alone in what you are feeling, what you are experiencing, what you are going through, because everybody that is collectively connected on a specific radio frequency that is understanding and seeing what's happening around them in their reality. I'm here with you. We just rode on a boat across the river to understand what's going on. So let every day be an opportunity to master the programs that you have created in today's simulation, today's reality, today's programming that is going to run. Choose what feels right to you and just know that I love you and we all here. Okay? Like, for real. That part. Like, we're all here. I'll see you on the next video.